What is going on, everyone? Scion's here with the Everyday Grind. As you can see behind me, the backdrop made by my YouTube editor, Digital Candy Studios, who's also in my Warcraft guild, Death Jesters and Zeros to Heroes. We are actively recruiting all the time, like-minded players, family members, high-end raiders. Everybody has a place in our guild. Check us out. We're on Storm Rage. Also, if you watch Twitch, you can join me. On Twitch, I stream World of Warcraft, I stream Elder Scrolls Online, and I stream every day except Thursday. So come on in, hang out with me. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about, not just the game I'm streaming. It's a community thing. I think we can do it. Today's video is my top 5 dungeons, beginning dungeons, that I think you should run as a World of Warcraft player. They've got great history. They've got great stories. They've been around since the inception of World of Warcraft. You need to get into these dungeons, check them out, have fun. They've got great characters. But here we go. My top 5 beginning dungeons in World of Warcraft. At number 5, the Stockades. This dungeon is located in the middle of Stormwind in the Canal District, which is right next to the Mage District. This has always been a great dungeon since Classic began. I have lots of memories of getting those Stockades carries as a new player many years ago for gear and cloth. There's nothing like going under the city and squashing the riot now ensuing beneath the city and bringing justice to those who have brought harm to your community. A very easy 3-boss dungeon to run with a great storyline. The original story has been changed since Classic WoW. No longer are you tasked to go in and take the hand of Dextrin Ward, who was accused of stealing bodies from the cemetery, nor are you tasked with bringing in the head of Targor the Dread, who tortured Kingdom soldiers with over-the-top brutal methods. The reason I mention these two in particular is as a new player, I loved going in and feeling like I was doing the right thing by taking out these very evil NPCs. Instead, you are going to firstly defeat and switch out with an impersonator, Randolph Molek, who is the ringleader of the prison revolt. Next up, you'll defeat Lord Overheat, who leads the fire elementals coming out of the Stockades. What purpose do fire elementals have in prison? We don't know. It's a weird place to find them, but crush them we must. And lastly, you'll travel to the iconic Hogger, whose name by definition means a person who takes or uses most or all of a particular thing in an unfair or selfish way. He also heads up the Knoll gangs in the area. At number 4, Ragefire Chasm. Located also underneath Orgrimmar is another early classic dungeon that has undergone changes since the original release. This 4-boss beginner's dungeon has great leveling quests, and it's one of the first dungeons you can use the group finder for, and you can expect to gain 1 to 2 levels when running this for the first time. The original dungeon had 4 bosses, to include Ogleflint, the leader of the underground Trogs, Terragammon, the Hungerer, a Felguard who is being used as bait to lure weak heroes to their deaths, Jurgoth, the Invoker, a Warlock, and finally Bazilan, an evil satyr bent on killing all heroes who try to stop him. The updated dungeon includes 4 different bosses, including Adorog, the big dog. It's the first boss of this instance, and if you did not know, he has fed over 2 times his weight in Trog meat. Next is Dark Shaman Corinthal, who left the Twilight Hammers cult after it was defeated and joined other shaman underneath Orgrimmar, and they hid themselves in Ragefire Chasm to continue their evil ways. Next up, Slagmaw, the massive worm, who is a savage, uncontrollable, untamable beast whose only mission is to destroy everything it comes into contact with. And finally, Lavagard Gordoth, who has succumbed to his own evil urges of power and has tried to manifest himself as a creation of the elemental ascendants who have served in the Twilight's Hammer cult. Coming in at number 3, Scarlet Halls, a place of epic transmogs, many deaths, and one section of the Scarlet Monastery dungeons, which have also been changed in the retail version. It is the product of combining the armory and library wings of the original dungeon complex when Vanilla Warcraft released both of these wings. Those wings held Houndmaster Loxy, the Scarlet Crusade's Hound Trainer, Next, they had Arcanist Doan, a protector of all the Scarlet Crusade's arcane knowledge. And finally, you went up against Herod, a Scarlet Crusade champion who has defeated many heroes in his time as champion and wielder of the great transmog axe, Ravager. In the game's current iteration, you have, again, 3 bosses with a bit of a twist. First up is Houndmaster Braun, who has obviously taken the place of Loxy and carries on the fine tradition of training all of the hounds for the new leadership of the Scarlet Crusade, until the dogs eat him. The second boss, Armsmaster Harlan, a younger, stronger replacement for the defeated Herod, equipped with the axe, the gleaming Ravager. And finally, Flame Weaver Kogler, a dangerous mage who destroyed the real manuscripts telling all of the Scarlet Crusade secrets, and he is the new master of the arcane knowledge. He'll use massive amounts of flames to burn all enemies to writhing corpses. Coming in at number 2, the Scarlet Monastery Cathedral itself, a very nostalgic part of the game that reminds me of some of the best times I've ever run dungeon content. In the original dungeon, the 3 bosses you faced were these: High Inquisitor Fairbanks, the former High Inquisitor who attended the council that led to the creation of Ashbringer. That's pretty cool. Next, you would fight Scarlet Commander Mograine, who at that time was the commander of all military forces, the Scarlet Crusade at the Monastery. Once Mograine is defeated, High Inquisitor Whitemane, who had to kill her family after they became infected with the Plague of Undeath and is in charge of the entire monastery, jumps in, resurrects Mograine, and the fight continues. In the current retail version, the bosses you'll face are these: Thalnos the Soul Render, an undead mage who tortured new recruits as an initiation into the Scarlet Crusade. Next, Brother Korloff, the master monk of the Scarlet Crusade, who trains as many of the Scarlet Crusade in the art of hand-to-hand combat. Next up, you will fight Mograine's replacement, Commander Durand, who, again, once defeated, brings out High Inquisitor Whitemane, who also resurrects Durand to continue the fight. Here's a fun fact: when High Inquisitor Whitemane dies, she still calls out the name of Mograine. Maybe she was in love? And coming in at number 1, the Deadmines. Deadmines is one of the most run and beloved dungeons of all time. In the classic version, you face the might of the Defias Brotherhood and these 5 bosses: the huge ogre, Rakzor, the foreman in charge of all construction projects; Sneed and his shredder, who work in the mast room. You would then come to where the Defias ship is moored and deal with the first mate, Mr. Smite. After defeating Mr. Smite, you would then take on his boss, Captain Greenskin. And after that, you would defeat one of the most iconic bosses in all of dungeon running history, Edwin Van Cleef. The changes to the classic dungeon feature an awesome twist. The first boss you'll encounter is Glubtok, who has replaced the deceased Rakzor. Next, you'll encounter Helix Gearbreaker, the highly sought-after goblin engineer who was recruited from the Horde. Next up, Foe Reaper 5000, who I'll assume was designed by Helix Gearbreaker and still under development. However, he is a walking hero destroyer whose only programming is to kill organized soldiers. After facing the Foe Reaper, you'll take on the new admiral of the ship, Rip Snarl, who has allied himself to the new leader of the Defias Brotherhood, and this is after he killed his family in a Worgen-induced rage. And finally, you'll meet the captain of the ship, Captain Cookie, who has survived the previous encounters in the Deadmines and has now obtained the ship as captain through default. In the heroic version of this dungeon, which is at level 90, you will square off with Van Cleef's offspring, his deadly daughter Vanessa Van Cleef, who was present when her father was slain and will have her revenge upon all heroes. And those are my top 5 choices for the best beginner dungeons in the game. If you've liked this video, please choose the like and subscribe button. Also, leave some comments below on what you would like to see next. That's all for me, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.